Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and race fans. This is Rob from the Area 51 Racing Podcast, joining you this evening to give you my race recap and the Rob's Racing Hot Takes for this past week in NASCAR. This is going to be episode 73 of the Area 51 Racing Podcast. I'll be giving you, like I said, race recap from this past weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway for the Truck Series and the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star Race. I'd like to dedicate this episode to my father, Ken Sharp, who passed away 12 years ago today from cancer. My dad is the reason why I love classic muscle cars and love the sport of racing. Him and my mom, if you've listened to this podcast before, know that they took me and my brother as kids to the racetrack to watch racing, and that's where my love of racing grew. So in my dad's memory, I dedicate this episode to him. This past week, they also announced the 2026 NASCAR Hall of Fame inductees, Kurt Busch, Harry Gant, and Ray Hendrick. And then Humpy Wheeler was named as the Landmark Award winner. So congratulations to them all. Kurt Busch, well-deserved. Harry Gant, definitely deserved. Same with Ray Hendrick, and then Humpy Wheeler as well. So looking forward to the ceremony. I believe it's in February, right after the, or I should say February. In February before the Daytona 500, I believe. I could be wrong, but either way, congratulations to those inductees. To get started, the Truck Series race at North Wilkesboro was a points-paying race. The race was actually really good. Trucks were able to pass. They were able to run side by side, and big thing was tire strategy and fuel strategy. A lot of trucks only took right side tires at times. Some stayed out. Some took fuel. Only it all depend. Track position to an extent was important. The main trucks that were the strongest were the Corey Heim number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota. He was the pole setter. Unfortunately, practice and qualifying was rained out, so the lineup was set by the rulebook metrics. Chandler Smith, the 38 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Grant Enfinger, the number 9 CR7 Motorsports Chevy. Lane Riggs, the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford. And Truck Series rookie Brent Cruz of the number 1 Tricon Garage Toyota all had strong runs. It was really good to see Brent Cruz run up towards the front of the pack during the majority of the race until lap 246 when he had contact with the number 99 of ThorSport Ford driven by Ben Rhodes in turn 2, which resulted in Cruz spinning and resulting in him finishing P22, not getting the finish that he deserved. Cruz is a up-and-coming driver, races, I believe, in the Cars Tour. I think he races in ARCA also. I could be wrong, but he's a very good young driver, and it was good to see him run in the top 10 for the majority of the race until that unfortunate accident. The race ultimately finished in a green-white checker. Lane Riggs, the number 38 for Front Row Motorsports, on the white flag lap, got under Corey Heim in the number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota in turn 1 and pushed Heim up the track, causing Heim's truck to spin and hit the track's back stretch wall. There was no caution thrown. Chandler Smith in the number 38 Front Row Motorsports truck was able to get underneath Lane Riggs in turn 3 and pushed Riggs up the track, and that allowed Smith to get the lead and ultimately the win. Post-race, Heim and Riggs met on the pit row area and had a conversation. And basically, it was Heim telling Riggs that he wasn't happy that he wrecked him. Heim has basically had one of those years where he either has won the race or he has dominated a race and something out of his control has happened, either mechanical failure or somebody is taking him out in a wreck. I believe he does have a couple of wins on the season though. So, but either way, it was a very good race. Like I said, Chandler Smith won, Lane Riggs was second, and then Tyler Ankrum in the number 18 McAnally Hilgeman Chevy was P3. So it was a good race overall, and it was a little bit of the way the race was ran with the tire strategy and fuel strategy, that it was sort of a foreshadow for the Cup race, All-Star race. The NASCAR Cup Series All-Star race on Friday, they had the pit stop challenge and qualifying. The pit stop challenge qualifying was basically the driver went out, made a lap, came in, had to have a pit stop, and made another lap, I believe, or maybe two. I can't remember, but during their qualifying run, they made a pit stop, and all that time went towards setting up who would get the pole. And then the time for the pit stop was the time given to the pit crews to determine who won the pit crew challenge. So the pit stop challenge pit crew that won was the number 71 Spire Motorsports pit crew of Michael McDowell. And the overall pole winner for the All-Star race was Braz Kozlowski in the number 6 RFK Ford. Saturday was the heat races. Heat race 1 was won by Brad Kozlowski. He led all of the laps. And it was basically like the truck race. It was one of those where you manage your tires, and either you pitted for tires or you stayed out or took right sides and gambled. The tires were soft. Goodyear brought to this race, so it created really good racing. It allowed the drivers and the teams to have the ability to do strategy, unlike other races, like where they are broken up by stage breaks and all that type of stuff. So it was good to see some good short track racing actually with this current gen car. The second heat race was won by Christopher Bell in the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. So as a result, Kozlowski and Bell were the two that sat on the front row for the All-Star race on Sunday. On Sunday, it was the qualifier race for the other drivers that did not qualify automatically in to the All-Star race. Up for grabs were 2 spots for the winner and second place finisher in the qualifier race. And then there was a fan vote winner that was able to be entered in as the last qualifier for the All-Star race. The qualifier race was won by the number 77 car driven by Carson Ware for Spire Motorsports in his Chevy. And then P2 was John Hunter Nemechek in the number 42 Legacy Motor Club Toyota. The fan vote winner again this year was Noah Gregson, the number 4 driver of the number 4 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Sunday evening was the All-Star race. In my opinion, it was the best short track race so far in this current gen Cup car. Like I said before, Goodyear had soft tires that fell off. If you managed them, you did well, but it played into where the crew chiefs and drivers either had to make a call to not take tires, take two tires on the right side, or take 4 tires to try to gain track position on pit road. The cars were able to race side by side and they could pass each other. And at times, they were actually 3 to 4 wide, which blew my mind on a short track. Joey Logano in the number 22 Penske Ford was the fastest and most dominant car during the whole race. The one gimmick that NASCAR came up with for the race was the promoter's caution, which was flown on lap 219 by former NASCAR driver and NASCAR TV analyst Michael Waltrip. When Waltrip was in the flag stand waving the yellow flag, he dropped the flag onto the track. To me, it sort of looked like he did it intentionally, but I don't know. It just sort of looked like he threw it out of his hand, but I don't know. Maybe it honestly slipped out of his hand. Who knows? But either way, as a result of that caution on 219, all the cars bunched back up, and Logano decided to stay out on his old tires. Christopher Bell pitted and got tires. And then on lap 241, Bell got under Logano and pushed him up the track and was able to pass him. Bell ended up winning the race, and Logano was pissed off, to say it in a nice way. I'll talk about that more in Rob's Racing Hot Takes, but that's the gist of the 2 races this past weekend at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. And the race report this week was brought to you by one of our partners named Aero Parts Group. They are a commercial and corporate aviation operation infrastructure support solutions organization designed to be a complete single source for all aviation related needs. They provide parts and services to commercial, corporate, and the military. Rick Armstrong is the CEO. Rick is also the executive vice president of Henderson Jet Services that sponsored Jeremy Clements in his 500th start at COTA this past season. Or I should say earlier this season, I'm sorry. Xfinity Series was off at North Wilkesboro. I really hope North Wilkesboro makes it a point race for all 3 series because the racing there was phenomenal. This weekend's races are at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The Xfinity Series race is on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the CW. Jeremy Clements will be racing the Fox Sports Spartanburg and the Fox Sports Spartanburg radio and Spartan Waste livery, along with the Spartanburgers baseball team livery. On Wednesday night, Jeremy Clements actually had his car at the Spartanburgers game. Jeremy threw out the first pitch, and they also gave away, I believe, to the first 500 fans, a bobblehead of Jeremy in his Spartanburgers race suit for this weekend's race. Getting to Rob's Racing Hot Takes for this week. My first one goes back to the Cup race. Joey Logano getting upset at Christopher Bell because Bell won the All-Star race. In the Logano's post-race interview, Logano was extremely mad because of the gimmick promoter's caution. Logano said he and Marcus Smith, the CEO of Speedway Motorsports that owns North Wilkesboro Speedway, he and Marcus Smith weren't seeing eye to eye right now as a result of the finish of the race. Logano said he was going to go talk to Marcus Smith, and he was not happy at all. And he also was mad because Bell moved him up the track. And then, ironically, in Bell's post-race interview, it was funny when one of the reporters asked him or told him that Logano was mad at him, and Bell said, Joey was actually, mad at me or disappointed with me or something along those lines. So sarcastic, which is sort of not Christopher Bell's normal personality, where he was being sarcastic and joking. I thought that was pretty funny. But either way, Logano ultimately the next day apologized for being a poor sport and for what he said post race. He just again said that he was really upset because he had the fastest car, and then ultimately he was frustrated because being the fastest car on the track and not getting the win, made him mad. Christopher Bell ended up winning the $1 million prize for the race. As a result of the race, there was a couple NASCAR greats that made some interesting comments. One of them was Kyle Larson. He was interviewed by a NASCAR reporter, Cole Casumano, and this was on Twitter. Cole asked Larson his opinion on stage racing in NASCAR. And I'll just read this to you because so you get the full context of it. But Larson said, quote, I could take it or leave it. I would like to not have stages because I think it makes the strategy of the race way better because you don't know when the caution's coming. When you know that the caution's coming, it's so easy to plan your race, and you never get to really push the length of your tires to where they're like completely wearing out. And then he also further was quoted, I think we didn't have stages, you would see more drivers pushing early in the run and falling back later in the run and things like that. But also I think stages are good because where life is and the attention span of younger adults these days. So like the time caution is probably better for them and TV too, getting their commercials in and all that. So there's more that goes into it, end quote. It's interesting that, Kyle Larson, one of the phenoms in the sport right now that wins in anything he gets into, is basically saying that, stage breaks are a gimmick, but in a sense, he understands that NASCAR is doing this to appeal to the current generation of fans that have short attention spans. And also, catering to TV commercials, which ultimately brings money to the sport. So that was one of the quotes, and the other one was legend and Hall of Famer driver Mark Martin. I know I mention Mark a lot. He's one of my favorite all-time drivers, my NASCAR hero and everything. So I follow him a lot on social media. And I have a lot of the same opinions about this current, Cup car and the way NASCAR currently is going. And I found this interesting. This just popped up actually today. A online journalist, and I apologize because when I printed this, I cut off their name by accident. I don't know what it was, but I looked on Mark Martin's Twitter page, and he did tweet all this information that I'm going to share. But it was basically Mark Martin was giving props to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick in the ZMAX Cars Tour for getting the Cars Tour race televised on FS1 national television for the first time on a big television stage at North Wilkesboro. Harvick and Earnhardt Jr. were in the booth calling the race, and Mark Martin's tweet was related to that he really liked the race and enjoyed it, and it was at the same time a message to NASCAR that maybe they should pay attention to how Harvick and Earnhardt Jr. Race ran and the number of viewers they got and what they did. But I'll get into this. Is basically what he said. He said there's something about watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick call a race that feels like you've been let in on a secret. The kind fans used to pass along in garages and dirt-covered grandstands. Martin didn't just tip his cap to the Cars Tour. He effectively called it the racing he's been missing for years. Martin stated, "You don't need stage breaks, 4-hour marathons, or 60 lead changes to create a race worth watching." And then Mark Martin praised the looks of the Cars Tour cars, calling them what race cars should look like: unapologetically bold, gritty, and real. It's the kind of visual that pulls fans in, not away. And Mark has been very vocal about that in the past, about the placement of the numbers being forward on the doors. And I've talked about this at length before on here, but he ultimately said that, like I was saying, the Cars Tour, backed by the likes of Earnhardt Jr. and Harvick, isn't just gaining traction. It's striking a chord that NASCAR's modern product hasn't quite hit in years. And if Mark Martin's post lit the match, the fans are now fanning the flames. And I agree. I've been vocal about this stuff, and I'm seeing more and more fans being vocal about the product that NASCAR's putting out, specifically in the Cup Series. And you are now having other current and former drivers, team owners, etc., saying the same stuff. So at what point does NASCAR actually start taking these things seriously and listening to say, hey, maybe we need to take a look at this and not just say, for example, like the Kansas race, where they had 60 some lead changes or whatever it was, when that wasn't really the case, unless you counted the lead changes for pit cycles, if the car inch like a half inch past the other car, or there were a wreck and then cars passed that way, whatever it may be. It wasn't true passing, like car length to car length, and stuff like that. So, but either way, that in a nutshell is basically my Rob's number one hot take for the week. Number two, I'm sorry, that was my second hot take. Number three is Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut is hosting the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race in the weekend of June 27th and 28th. And this is not the first time that NASCAR's raced there, nor has it been the first time that another racing series has raced there. I mean, IMSA has raced there, Rolex has raced there, the NASCAR Canon East Series has raced there, Trans Am. Those are the ones I can think off the top of my head. So it's not like it's a new thing to this track. The Arkham and Art Series is raced there as well. The track opened in 1956, or was built in 1956, and had its first race on April 28th of 57. It's the third oldest continuously operating road racing venue in the United States. And the reason why this got my attention is the town board there and a lot of the residents there are complaining because the racetrack is going to draw in 15 to 20,000 people, and it's going to creep and infringe on their area and restrict their freedoms during the race because of the influx of people. And they also want to, or I should say, the track safety officer has requested that the one main state highway, be closed down to one-way traffic, I think for like a 4-hour period of time before the race and after the race, so they don't have all these dangerous detours and a mess. So the traffic flow is safe and efficient for everybody. And the town board at the first meeting tabled it, and it sounded like they weren't going to approve it, but ultimately at the second most recent town board meeting, I read that they did approve and gave them permission to shut down the road to allow them to get traffic in and out safely. But this gives me or brings me to my point of this is happening around the United States, where people buy houses or build houses next to racetracks, for example, in this case, and they then complain and bitch because of the noise or the traffic or all the people and that type of stuff, when they know ahead of time that a racetrack brings in, traffic, people, and there's noise related to it. So that has caused, in the past several years, racetracks to close down or go out of business, because government agencies have basically sided with people that have lived in the area and complained. I personally know 2 track owners in Wisconsin. One that was in Illinois, it was Rockford Speedway, which is no longer there, unfortunately. But I know personally from talking with the owners of the track and the promoters of the tracks that they have dealt with whatever, they've bent over backward and dealt with all the requests with the town board and met with the people that live in the area that had concerns and have worked with them to come to an agreement where they can all function together and live harmoniously, I guess you could say. But that's the thing that nowadays you have to do, because for example, my own personal experience, not with a racetrack, but here in Walworth County, where I worked as a sheriff's deputy for 20 plus years, we have a large concert venue out in the country called Alpine Valley Music Theater. Many of you may have heard of it, may not have. It's a famous music theater. It's been in operation since the 70s. I'm familiar with the traffic control and everything else by the number of years that I've been involved in working those events and seeing what needs to be done and how much work goes behind it and that type of stuff. And one of the solutions we came up with for all residents, we gave them all a pass to put on the dash of their car. And then when they pulled out of their driveway, there was a security guard at every one of their property's driveways along the main road that was closed down to just allow one-way traffic into the venue. And then they would let us know, and we would escort them out to the road so they could get to wherever they needed to go. Even with farmers that had to go back and forth, we did the same thing. We made it work. We worked with each other. And that's the most important thing that has to be done to keep these tracks open. And this, people don't understand that the amount of revenue that is generated by the influx of visitors to your area that are attending these events is tenfold compared to the minor inconvenience you're going to have for 8 hours in a day or whatever it may be. You're never going to please everybody. There are just going to be some people that are going to just be pissed because they can be. But that just caught my attention, and I was thinking, wow, just this last summer they had the International Race of Champions reunion at Lime Rock Park, and it was a huge success. And I didn't see any complaints about that event. But now that you have this NASCAR Truck Series race there, people are coming out of the woodwork complaining about it. And I don't know. I guess I just wanted to give my opinion and share my words of wisdom, I guess you could say, about my experience with a big event and how to accommodate the people in the area and to make them happy, to make sure that the racetracks and events stay open. And on that note, make sure you all go and support your local racetrack and local racetrack drivers. They are the lifeblood of the sport at the grassroots level. If we don't have these drivers at the grassroots level, then you're not going to have them progressing up the ranks to race in NASCAR. So everybody needs to work together, support your local track, your promoters, your race car drivers, do whatever you can to do. Get out and watch a race. Or you can even Flow Racing is a big one that has a lot of racing on it. I think it's for a year, it's $170. You can watch hockey, you can watch anything on it for the whole year for that price. College, professional, semi-professional hockey, wrestling, bull riding, you name it, it's pretty much on there. So it's a great deal. And like I said, if you're not able to make it through the track, you're still able to support racing, because a portion of that money is going to go to the racetrack promoter to help support the track through the revenue generated from the people watching the race and the subscriptions. So before I go, this weekend is Memorial Day, and I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. But at the same time, I want to make sure everybody remembers the true meaning of Memorial Day. It is to thank all those brave men and women, warriors, who paid the ultimate sacrifice, serving our country in the military, that were preserving our freedom and protecting our country. Your lives will never be forgotten. And just keep that in your mind this weekend while you're barbecuing with your family or doing whatever you may be doing, spending time at the racetrack, whatever it may be. But this weekend is very important to memorialize all those military members and their families, for that matter, who ultimately paid the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives for us all. So on that note, I want to thank our sponsors: Spartan Waste, Fox Sports Spartanburg, Harrison's, Action RV, Kylie Glick Racing, Matman Designs, The Runner's Roost, Alliance Drive-Away Solutions, Anna Moore Designs, Circle B Diecast, Driven Sunglasses and Driven Trackside, Elite Towing and Recovery, High Speed Auto, The Racing Warehouse and Armadillo Apparel, Belcher Cheesecake Creations, Flying Form Concrete Structures, Gale Beard Products, Wings, etc., Dialed In Focus Pouches by Whitetail Smokeless, Benzik Designs, Schanzenbach Landscaping, Enigma Tattoo Studio, Aero Parts Group, and Jeremy Clements Racing. And again, like I say every time at the end of the podcast, Bobby, Dave, and I are so grateful for all our partners, supporters, viewers, listeners. Without any of you, this would not be possible, and we greatly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. Everybody have a great weekend. Take care, and we'll see you next week. And remember, get out to your local racetrack, support your local racetrack and local racetrack drivers. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye.